Remember words by reading essays. A Steely Smile.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to study an article titled A Steely Smile. Before we analyze the language, I'd like you to listen to the entire passage once from beginning to end. At this stage, don't worry about unfamiliar words or details, just focus on the overall story, the mood, and the main idea.
Adrian Wu had once dazzled the business world with bold ideas that seemed almost paradigm-shifting. His company's success upended the old ways of thinking and pushed him to the apogee of his career. Investors hailed him as a visionary, but visionaries attract enemies. A rival campaign began to denigrate his work, while tabloids vilified his personal life. Adrian tried to be resilient to these attacks, but the constant barrage wore him down. Soon, copycats filled the market with skimpy versions of his products, and shoddy fakes flooded online shops. Consumers grew frustrated, and his company slipped in the doldrums. The banks, once generous, now demanded more collateral or margin to extend loans. Adrian refused to adopt a lowlier posture in negotiations. Pride anchored him. His team urged him to cut costs, but he insisted quality could not be written off. Desperate, he tried to ward off collapse with risky expansions. Instead, the company became an inferno of losses. Public opinion shifted sharply. Customers began to push back against his brand, some even openly spurning his new releases. At the same time, rumors and half-truths further tainted his reputation and tarnished the legacy he had worked so hard to build. One brutal winter afternoon, after a disastrous board meeting, Adrian walked out of the headquarters reeling from the announcement that his empire was finished. That night, he sat alone, brooding over his missteps. He had been to the mountaintop, but now he felt cast into the abyss. When his mother called, asking gently if he was all right, Adrian paused. Instead of lamenting, he gave her only a steely smile and said softly, "Don't worry, this isn't the end. I'll build again." For all that was lost, the strength within him remained untarnished.
Now, let's listen to the passage a second time. This time, please listen more carefully. As we go along, I will pause to explain some key vocabulary, important phrases, and useful expressions from the text. You may want to take notes and think about how these phrases are used in context.
Adrian Wu had once dazzled the business world with bold ideas that seemed almost paradigm-shifting.
Today, let's look at the phrase paradigm shifting. In the text, it describes Adrian Wu's ideas. A paradigm is a typical way of thinking or doing things, especially in business or science. So when something is paradigm shifting, it doesn't just improve the old system, it changes the rules of the game entirely. Adrian's ideas didn't follow tradition. They forced people to rethink what was possible.
So does paradigm shifting mean the same as very innovative?
Good question. It's stronger than just innovative. Many ideas are innovative, but paradigm-shifting ideas create a new framework that others must follow.
Can it be used outside business?
Absolutely. We often use paradigm shifting for technology, education, medicine, or even social ideas, any field where thinking changes fundamentally.
His company's success upended the old ways of thinking.
Now, let's focus on the word appended. In the text, it says Adrian's company's success upended the old ways of thinking. Literally, append means to turn something upside down. Figuratively, it means to completely disrupt or overturn an existing system. His success didn't just challenge tradition, it knocked it over.
Is appended always negative?
Not necessarily. It often describes dramatic change, which can be positive or negative depending on the result. In this story, It's mostly positive at first.
Can we use appended for daily situations?
Yes. For example, you could say, the sudden storm upended our travel plans.
And pushed him to the apogee of his career.
Next, let's look at the word apogee. In the passage, it refers to Adrian reaching the apogee of his career. Apogee means the highest point or peak of something. It suggests a moment of maximum success, influence, or achievement, after which things may level off or even decline.
Is apogee only used for careers?
No. You can use it for art, power, popularity, or even emotions, any situation with a clear high point.
Is there an opposite word for apogee?
Yes. Common opposites include nadir or low point.
Investors hailed him as a visionary, but visionaries attract enemies. A rival campaign began to denigrate his work.
Now, let's examine the word denigrate. In the text, a rival campaign began to denigrate Adrian's work. Denigrate means to criticize someone unfairly or damage their reputation, often by saying negative or untrue things. It suggests an intentional effort to make something seem worse than it really is.
Is denigrate stronger than just criticize?
Yes. Criticize can be fair or constructive, but denigrate usually implies malice or bad intention.
Can denigrate be used in formal writing?
Definitely. It's common in news reports, academic writing, and serious discussions.
While tabloids vilified his personal life.
Let's move on to the word vilified. In the text, tabloids vilified Adrian's personal life. Vilify means to portray someone as evil or immoral, often in an exaggerated or unfair way. It goes beyond criticism and suggests a strong, hostile attack on someone's character.
Is vilified similar to denigrate?
They are related, but vilify is stronger. It focuses on moral judgment, making someone seem bad or corrupt.
Is this word mostly used in the media?
Yes. It's very common in media, politics, and historical writing.
Adrian tried to be resilient to these attacks, but the constant barrage wore him down.
Now, let's look at the phrase resilient to. In the passage, Adrian tried to be resilient to the attacks. Resilient means able to recover quickly or remain strong when facing difficulty. When we say resilient to, we mean someone can withstand pressure, criticism, or setbacks without being easily defeated.
Does resilient to mean the same as immune to?
Not exactly. Immune means unaffected, but resilient means affected, yet able to bounce back.
Can people be resilient? Or only things?
Both. People, companies, and even systems can be described as resilient.
Soon, copycats filled the market with skimpy versions of his products.
Next, let's examine the word skimpy. In the text, it describes skimpy versions of Adrian's products. Skimpy means too small, poor in quality, or lacking in substance. Here, it suggests that the copycat products look similar on the surface, but are cheaply made and inferior.
Is skimpy only used for products?
No. You can also describe explanations, meals, salaries, or even clothing as skimpy if they are insufficient.
Is skimpy informal?
It's neutral to slightly informal, but perfectly acceptable in writing.
And shoddy fakes flooded online shops.
Now, let's look at the word shoddy. In the passage, it describes shoddy fakes flooding the market. Shoddy means poorly made, careless, or of low quality. It often suggests that something was produced quickly or cheaply, without attention to standards.
Is shoddy similar to cheap?
They're related, but shoddy emphasizes bad workmanship, not just low price.
Can shoddy describe work, not objects?
Yes, you can talk about shoddy research or shoddy service as well.
Consumers grew frustrated, and his company slipped in the doldrums.
Now, let's focus on the phrase in the doldrums. In the text, it says the company slipped in the doldrums. This phrase means a state of stagnation, low activity, or low morale. Nothing is improving, and progress feels stuck.
Is this phrase related to weather?
Yes. Originally, it comes from sailing, where ships were stuck in windless zones. Figuratively, it describes emotional or economic slowdown.
Can we use it for people too?
Absolutely. A person can be in the doldrums emotionally or professionally.
The banks, once generous, now demanded more collateral or margin to extend loans.
Now, let's examine the phrase collateral or margin. In the text, banks demanded more collateral or margin to extend loans. Collateral refers to assets a borrower pledges, such as property or equipment, to secure a loan. Margin is extra money or security required to reduce the lender's risk. Together, they show that banks no longer fully trusted the company.
Are collateral and margin the same thing?
They're related, but not identical. Collateral is specific property, while margin is usually additional financial buffer.
Is this expression common in business English?
Yes, especially in finance, banking, and investment contexts.
Adrian refused to adopt a lowlier posture in negotiations. Pride anchored him.
Next, let's look at the word lowlier. In the passage, Adrian refused to adopt a lowlier posture in negotiations. Lowlier is the comparative form of lowly, meaning more humble, less proud, or having lower status. Here, it suggests showing humility or backing down, something Adrian was unwilling to do.
Does lowlier mean weak?
Not exactly. It doesn't mean weak, but it does imply less dominance or less pride.
Can lowlier describe people only?
Mostly people or attitudes, but it can also describe roles or positions.
His team urged him to cut costs, but he insisted quality could not be written off.
Now, let's examine the phrase written off. In the text, Adrian insisted that quality could not be written off. To write something off means to dismiss it as unimportant, worthless, or no longer worth considering. In business, it can also mean treating a loss as unavoidable. But here it means refusing to sacrifice quality.
Is written off always about money?
No. You can write off ideas, people, or efforts, not just financial losses.
Is this phrase formal?
It's common in both spoken and written English, especially in business contexts.
Desperate, He tried to ward off collapse with risky expansions.
Next, let's focus on the phrase ward off. In the passage, Adrian tried to ward off collapse. Ward off means to prevent something harmful from happening, often through effort or resistance. It suggests danger is approaching and action is taken to keep it away.
Is ward off similar to avoid?
They're close, but ward off implies active defense, not just staying away.
What kinds of things can we ward off?
Illness, danger, criticism, or even failure. You can ward off many threats.
Instead, the company became an inferno of losses.
Now, let's look at the word inferno. In the text, the company became an inferno of losses. Inferno literally means a large, uncontrollable fire. But figuratively, it describes a situation that is chaotic, destructive, and out of control. Here, it emphasizes how rapidly and violently the losses spread.
Is inferno always used metaphorically?
No. It can describe a real fire.
But in writing, it's often used metaphorically for extreme situations.
Why not just say, many losses?
Good question. Inferno adds emotion and intensity, making the situation feel dramatic.
Public opinion shifted sharply. Customers began to push back against his brand.
Now, let's examine the phrase push back against. In the passage, customers began to push back against Adrian's brand. This phrase means to resist, oppose,
Or challenge something.
especially when people feel dissatisfied or treated unfairly. It suggests active resistance, not silent disagreement.
Is pushback against formal or informal?
It's neutral, very common in news, business, and everyday conversation.
Can individuals push back? Or only groups?
Both.
Individuals, customers, employees, or even countries can push back against policies or decisions.
Some even openly spurning his new releases.
Next, let's look at the word spurning. In the text, some customers were openly spurning his new releases. Spurn means to reject something with contempt or disdain, not just to refuse it politely. It suggests a strong, almost emotional rejection.
Is spurn stronger than reject?
Yes, reject can be neutral, but spurn implies disrespect or scorn.
Is spurn commonly used in modern English?
It's more literary or formal, which is why it fits well in this text.
At the same time, rumors and half-truths further tainted his reputation.
Now, let's examine the word tainted. In the passage, rumors and half-truths tainted Adrian's reputation. Taint means to damage or contaminate something that was once pure or respected. Even if the rumors aren't fully true, they still leave a negative mark.
Is tainted always permanent?
Not always, but it suggests the damage is serious and hard to erase.
Can tainted describe physical things too?
Yes,
Food.
water or products can be tainted, as well as reputations.
And tarnish a legacy he had worked so hard to build.
Let's look at the word tarnished. In the text, it says his legacy was tarnished. Tarnish originally means to lose shine or luster, especially with metal. Figuratively, It means a reputation or image has been damaged or made less admirable over time.
Is tarnished similar to tainted?
They're related, but tarnished often suggests gradual damage, while tainted can be sudden.
Can a tarnished reputation be restored?
Yes, but it usually takes time, effort, and trust building.
One brutal winter afternoon, after a disastrous board meeting, Adrian walked out of the headquarters reeling from the announcement that his empire was finished.
Now, let's focus on the word reeling. In the text, Adrian walked out reeling from the announcement. Reeling means feeling shocked, overwhelmed, or mentally unsteady after a sudden or powerful event. It suggests he was struggling to process the bad news.
Does reeling mean physically dizzy?
It can, but here it's emotional and mental, not physical.
Can we use reeling with good news?
Usually it's used for negative or shocking events, but it can describe extreme surprise as well.
That night, he sat alone, brooding over his missteps.
Next, let's examine the phrase brooding over. In the passage, Adrian sat alone, brooding over his missteps. This means he was thinking deeply and repeatedly about something negative, often in a gloomy or troubled way. It suggests his thoughts were heavy and difficult to escape.
Is brooding over the same as thinking about?
Not exactly. Brooding over implies long, dark, and unproductive thinking, not casual thought.
Is this phrase common in spoken English?
It's more common in written or literary English, but people do use it in speech too.
He had been to the mountaintop, but now he felt cast into the abyss. When his mother called, asking gently if he was all right, Adrian paused. Instead of lamenting, he gave her only a steely smile.
Finally, let's look at the phrase a steely smile. In the text, Adrian gives his mother a steely smile. Steely suggests hardness, strength, and emotional control, while a smile usually shows warmth. Together, the phrase means a smile that hides pain but shows determination and inner resolve.
So is he really happy?
No.
The smile isn't joyful, it shows strength despite suffering.
Is this phrase literal or figurative?
It's figurative and very literary, used to reveal character rather than expression.
And said softly, "Don't worry, this isn't the end. I'll build again." For all that was lost, the strength within him remained untarnished.
All right.
After discussing the key words and phrases, let's listen to the article once more in its entirety. This final listening will help you consolidate your understanding and see how the vocabulary fits naturally into the story as a whole.
Adrian Wu had once dazzled the business world with bold ideas that seemed almost paradigm-shifting. His company's success upended the old ways of thinking and pushed him to the apogee of his career. Investors hailed him as a visionary, but visionaries attract enemies. A rival campaign began to denigrate his work, while tabloids vilified his personal life. Adrian tried to be resilient to these attacks, but the constant barrage wore him down. Soon, copycats filled the market with skimpy versions of his products, and shoddy fakes flooded online shops. Consumers grew frustrated, and his company slipped in the doldrums. The banks, once generous, now demanded more collateral or margin to extend loans. Adrian refused to adopt a lowlier posture in negotiations. Pride anchored him. His team urged him to cut costs, but he insisted quality could not be written off. Desperate, he tried to ward off collapse with risky expansions. Instead, The company became an inferno of losses. Public opinion shifted sharply. Customers began to push back against his brand, some even openly spurning his new releases. At the same time, rumors and half-truths further tainted his reputation and tarnished the legacy he had worked so hard to build. One brutal winter afternoon, after a disastrous board meeting, Adrian walked out of the headquarters reeling from the announcement that his empire was finished. That night, he sat alone, brooding over his missteps. He had been to the mountaintop, but now he felt cast into the abyss. When his mother called, asking gently if he was all right, Adrian paused. Instead of lamenting, he gave her only a steely smile and said softly, "Don't worry, this isn't the end. I'll build again." For all that was lost, the strength within him remained untarnished.
That brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope this article has helped you improve both your listening skills and your understanding of advanced English expressions. Thank you for your attention and participation.
See you in the next class.